there is a lot to get into right away.
Man.
I'm sorry for this because maybe this is the afternoon drive in me that's about to come out. I'm a little knocked off kilter right here. This all happened with Brandon Aiyuk. For those of you who might have been in a fog on this, he officially requested a trade yesterday, and this broke about 20 minutes after you and I left the air.
Terrible timing.
So, yeah, which, first of all, Brandon, come on, dog. Let's go. Let's think about these things.
How about 8:45?
Would have been better. Would have been better.
Yeah.
What are you, sleeping in?
Exactly.
Anyway, but that means that we have not had a chance to kind of react to this. We're champing at the bit. We want to open it up to you. 888-957-9570. That's both to call in. That's our Xfinity mobile text line as well. I have a lot to say about this. I'm bothered. I'm bothered by all of this, and that's not normal. Normally, okay, y'all in an argument here. I get it. Brandon, you've got your position. Niners, you've got your position. And, hunky-dory, this will work out. And I largely still feel that in terms of the contract. But I now also feel damage has been done. More is going to be done. This is a problem for the 49ers season, and it is largely Brandon Aiyuk's fault and his agent, who is giving him absolutely some of the worst advice that I have ever seen an agent, not named Scott Boras, give to a player in 2024.
Shout out Blake Snell and his contract,
and Cody Bellinger.
Exactly, the fact that
What's your reaction to this?
My reaction is kind of between you and Grandy, and I listened to most of Grandy on the way in as I was making my way in here to San Francisco in the morning, and he's not really that worried. And you seem to, I don't know if you're worried, but you're definitely angry. I'm angry, Jeff.
Yeah.
That's not awesome.
It's not awesome, as it turns out. I was laughing every time he played that. No, I'm not angry.
I'm not angry
but
either.
I'm annoyed and confused, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not really confused because this feels to me like the order of operations. And, you go through the sequence of, I'd like a contract. We want the player. I'd like to stay here. They make an offer. We have our offer. The wide receiver market gets reset, and we go through all these steps. And when you get to July, and you figure that at this point, all right, now we're going to start to either get the deal done, or we get to this point where the player has requested, not demanded, but requested a trade. For me, this feels like kind of the normal state of business, so I'm not that worried. Now, was it a good move by Aiyuk, and do I like all the things he's done with his TikTok and all the rest of the passive-aggressive maneuvers? Probably not good, but I'm not that worried, and I don't think that there's real permanent damage being done by the fact that he's doing this because, most of the players actually do this as a part of the process.
Well, I understand all that, but there are a few things where I'm going to get my cues, and one of them is the actual people who are in the building. I am very, very moved by the fact that another wide receiver on the 49ers, who none of us even realized talked, Juwan Jennings has not said a word in his entire 49ers career. He couldn't get to Instagram fast enough yesterday to make a comment that is very, very anti-Aiyuk. It is very anti-Aiyuk. For those of you not aware of the comment, let me make sure where I got to pull it up here. Here it is. He wrote on an IG story, "You got to be a different type of person to act like you're doing everything by yourself, knowing dang well you're not."
Yeah.
Now that hits. That's a teammate. That's someone who shares your room.
Totally.
Okay, I'm going to take my cues there because normally, what do we see when it's money? Players don't get into other people's money. That is taboo. You don't talk about that.
Especially in the same room.
Thank you. And if you do talk about it or even think about it, what do? You're like, well, we got your back, man. Go get yours. Go get yours.
Get that bag. Yeah.
Juwan Jennings went to Instagram to rip Brandon Aiyuk in the middle of this?
Feels like he's ripping Brandon Aiyuk. I don't know what else he'd be talking about. And it's The sequence of event was bam, bam.
If he's upset at his wife or something like that, that'd be wild.
That would be.
Really bad timing. I think it's Brandon Aiyuk.
Yeah. And that part of it is maybe the most troubling because, it is the wide receiver room, and Juwan Jennings took a qualified offer for about 5 and change, and so he kind of had to take what he could get, and so now he's back in the building, and Deebo's already paid, and now it's all about Brandon Aiyuk, and if you're in that room or you're in that locker room, you know that this dude is one of the more important parts of your offense because he's the route runner, he's the deep threat, he's the guy who makes a lot of things happen in the past game, and yet we're now 6 days away from reporting, and it doesn't seem like there's any chance he's going to show up.
Well, and I'm seeing this on the Xfinity mobile text line twice from 2 of you, and so let's address it right now. Hey, guys, didn't Deebo do the same thing? Everything's going to be fine. No, Deebo did not do the same thing. Yes, Deebo had his agent request a trade. Here are 2 major differences. Deebo did not go on TikTok and everybody's podcast who would welcome him with another quarterback hand in hand, frolicking through the meadow, torching his team along the way, and Deebo did this in April.
Yeah.
He did it in April.
In April, yeah.
And then as soon as he did it, he shut up and they went to work. And they got their deal done. But he gave the 49ers an opportunity. You want to trade me rather than keep me? Let's talk about this in April. The draft is coming up. You can trade me right now to the New York Jets if you want. And the Niners said, no, we don't want, we want you. And everything's fine. Brandon does this now.
Yep.
You do this on the day that rookies report. You're going to do this now after TikTok. TikTok. By the way,
it's a big deal.
I don't even have this in front of me. Who is Brandon's agent? Who is it? Do you know, Grandy? Guys, look that up for me. Who's Brandon's agent? I'd like to use the man's name. He's doing a horrible job.
Ryan Williams.
Ryan, you're doing an awful job. An awful job. This entire summer, you've misplayed this at every single opportunity. You sent your player to TikTok. You sent him to get linked up with a quarterback who's never played a down in the NFL. Do you know how many minutes you and I were off the air yesterday before I was live on the Odyssey, Washington, D.C. sports station? It was not 10:30 yet.
Oh, they called you.
Oh, God.
Oh, I bumped into you on the street at about 10:15.
It was about 7 minutes later.
Okay.
7 minutes later, here we go. And we're live because they're all gassed up. And I'm like, you guys, I love you. You're adorable as all hell. You've got a quarterback who's never played a down in the NFL.
I like the player.
You haven't played good offense in that city in I don't know how many years. And may I remind you, Brandon Aiyuk is under team control for 3 more years.
Yeah, sorry about that, Grandy. I almost called in.
3 more years if the Niners want to play hardball.
They can tag him twice, Grandy. You were close.
I don't know what do you think's gonna? That's my question for Ryan and Brandon. What do you think's gonna happen?
Oh, they're gonna trade the player.
They're not trading him.
Aiyuk on the move. Before the end of the show, he's getting dealt. If he wants out.
If they trade him, it is because they actually don't think that highly of him, number one. And number two, here's the other question I'd ask Brandon. Brandon, you think you deserve market value, right? Okay, so do we. You want to trade? Great. And I bet Brandon and his agent are all empowered because they've called. We've got 3 other teams who will give us 28.5 per year. Great. Will those teams also give the 49ers a first and a second? No, not a first. A first and a second. Brandon, you're the 26th pick in the draft. So if you would like to leave, we would like the 26th pick in the draft back. But we'd also like something for our time because we're giving up on a player who we have under team control. And oh, by the way, we'd like to win a Super Bowl this year, and this is making it harder. So we'd like something for our efforts. How about a 2? You're going to give a 1 and a 2 and $28.5 million? Washington? Pittsburgh? Because if I'm the Niners, that's what I'm saying. And I would call Brandon and Ryan a hypocrite if they thought that that was unfair. You want every dollar? Then so do we.
Yeah.
So go find it. We're right here.
Well, if you're the Niners, you're not just going to take picks. Even if we want to play that part of it out, you would want a player. And so I think you would want a player right now because Ricky Pearsall is a rookie, and right now he's on the not fit to play list early in camp. I know he'll probably be ready by August. I'm not worried about it, but you as a Niner team don't want to go into the year with Jawan, Deebo, and Ricky Pearsall. You want Brandon Aiyuk or a receiver or somebody who's at least in the ballpark. So Terry McLaurin and a second-round pick.
I hear that, but that complicates things financially. Keep in mind, if you acquire Terry McLaurin, you're right back in the situation of cutting Deebo at the end of the year. I would argue...
Perhaps. You can get out of Terry McLaurin earlier. So.
Maybe. I don't know his contract that well. But my point, right? Don't you want to walk out of this season at least with Brandon or Deebo? I don't want to walk out with neither of them.
Well, you want to walk out of this year with a Lombardi. And that first and foremost. And then... Lombardi or no Lombardi, it is Super Bowl or bust this year. And as you and I have discussed in the afternoon. Try again. Yeah, sure. Although you probably won't try again with Deebo and Brandon.
Oh, you're always going to try again. But yes, you're right.
You know what I mean? As far as what you would do in the wide receiver room. So no matter what this year, you're worried about this year. Even if you wanted to trade him and you got a first and a second back, that doesn't help you with what you're trying to do right now. You're trying to win right now. You're one of the few teams that is really poised to win the whole damn thing. And that means you have two good receivers and a team that has a lot of two receiver sets, not a lot of three receiver sets. And if you do, you got Jawan Jennings and a little bit of Ricky Pearsall, however that looks. You want Deebo and Brandon. You want Brandon and Deebo. And so job one is to get this thing done.
Absolutely.
You're not trading Brandon Aiyuk.
And that doesn't change. I still would argue Brandon will play for the 49ers this year. But it's fascinating to me that they've decided, and this is what, I'm not bothered by the fact that Brandon wants his money. I get that. Who doesn't? But I'm bothered by the way that Brandon has played this. I'm bothered by the fact that he's now seemingly upset his own teammates at the same position. I'm bothered by the fact that Brandon has now, because of the way he's played this, not because of his desires. I get the desires. But because of the way you've played this, you have now lessened the 49ers' chances of winning a Super Bowl. You have disrupted the goal, the common goal that you all have, what football players all talk about. Group of people coming together for a common goal. Well, not today. Not Brandon. No, you've now made it public. You've made it messy. You've made it too late. You have dragged this thing now, the start of training camp, which is supposed to be all about a Super Bowl, and you've dragged the conversation here. And that is a net negative for the 49ers. I'd love to do a mock meeting with Brandon Aiyuk. I'll play the role of the Niners.
Okay, I'll play Brandon Aiyuk.
All right, go ahead. Let's do the meeting. Brandon, what do you want to talk about?
Well, I want to talk about my bag, and the bag that you're offering me is not, quite big enough. And so, you look around the league, and Amon-Ra got 30, and, I think I'm every bit the player of Amon-Ra. So how about you, break me off 30 per, and then I'll show up next week to camp. Is that so hard? John, Kyle, Parag, Jed, Denise, if you happen to be here?
No. What else you got?
How about you give me 29.99? How about that? Or you know what? How about this? Why don't you just trade me then? You don't value me. You don't value me like I need to be valued. You don't love me like I need to be loved. You know what my love language is? Money. And you're not giving me the money that I deserve. Did you see my numbers last year? Did you see my yak? Did you see my yards per catch? And I know I don't get a lot of targets. And you know what? I just want to be here and win. I want to be a Niners for my whole career. And y'all don't seem like you care about me like that. So just send me to Washington. I'll go play with my buddy. And I'll go 6-11. They're going to pay me.
You want to trade?
You know what? I'd like to request a trade.
All right.
I'd like to request that you trade me. And let's make it snappy. Deal me, fellas.
No. But thank you for coming in today.
That's enough for me, Doug.
Man, Jose's in the meeting.
There's your meeting. I hope that went well.
Back to you.
No.
End of meeting.
No. You want 29? You want A trade? No.
I came down from 30 to 29.99. I feel like that was a move. Well, y'all can't expect to see me next Tuesday when camp opens. I'm going to be busy.
Bye. Because here's the other thing. Here's the other thing for the 49ers. The way this works, Brandon Aiyuk, that fifth-year option that houses $14.1 million is literally more than half of what Brandon has made in his entire career. So that's a big chunk of change for Brandon coming up this year, $14.1 million. In order to even accrue a year of service, for this to be a contractual year, if he never shows up, guess what? The Niners control him for 3 more years after this one. So if you never show up, not only do you don't get a year's service, and you don't get $14.1 million. Got to show up by week 9. Niners look at Brandon and be like, you know what we're very confident in by week 9? Whether you're here or not, we'll be at least 5-3. And that's what we were after 8 weeks last year.
With you.
And we went to the Super Bowl. So, again, my question for Brandon is not, why you mad? I get it. There is a circumstance here that really stinks for Brandon. Because you know what we've talked about to this point. I think the world of the player. I think he's fantastic. I think he deserves more than Jalen Waddle, and Jalen Waddle got 28. But I also think that there are times in life where you have to look at your company and at least try to understand where they're coming from. And the bottom line is the 49ers are about to pay Brock. That's just a thing. And it's not their fault, and it's not anyone's fault. It is the way that it is. Does that mean that Brandon might have to give up $1 million a year or whatever? Yeah. I'm sorry.
Feels like they're further apart than that.
Maybe they are. Maybe they are.
So if they offered him 29 right now, he takes it.
Of course they would.
If they offer him 28.5, he takes it. If they offer him 28, he probably takes it.
Well, the report is that they were at 26, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And obviously 26 is not something that he's willing to take.
Right.
Because if they offered him 26, he would have taken it if he thought 26 was good. 26 is more than 14. Checks notes, confirms, math, yes.
You know what's less than 14?
0. Thank you.
So, again, I know we say, why should Brandon take $1 million less a year? Because Brandon has tens, if not hundreds, of millions of dollars literally on the line.
Yeah.
And he potentially is putting that at risk for $2 million a year over the next 5. If somebody, this is sort of what it feels like to me. Someone's like, hey, dude, do you want to make $105 million? You're like, I'm not showing up for less than 110. All right, then you get none.
Well,
what would you do?
The other piece of it is, dude, I mean, you're going to make less than Jalen Waddle. You're going to make less than fill-in-the-blank receiver. You're better than all these guys, my guy. You're better than all of them. And you're going to settle for less than that? You're going to be the 9th highest paid receiver? Dude, you need to be top 5. You know that, and I know that. We all know that.
Those voices in your ear do nothing for you in life, in my opinion. They do not. I've watched that at every level in every industry.
It's a question of maturity.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're a younger person, it's hard to get beyond the ego part of all that.